Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. Um, Today's economics episode 89. Here with my co-facilitator, Lionel.
Hello, hello. How's everyone doing? How you doing today, Mike?
I'm good, brother. Yourself?
I am well. Thanks for asking.
All right. So, hustle of cryptocurrency trading in Africa in the first LA public bank. We will get started on the first document. Actually, let me pull this up real quick. Come on. All right. So this this video is from Real News on YouTube. The first public banking um, institution from LA was put on the ballot this week for the midterms, and it didn't turn out too well. It didn't get all the support that it should have gotten. As a result, uh, what's great about public banking is that it puts the power into the hands of the people who actually put their money into it. What typically happens with private banking is that once your money is in there, you really don't have any say about what goes on. It's usually the big wigs and the suit and ties who have all of the uh, all of the dictats that go on inside the financial institution. But when you have a public banking system, uh, then what happens is the power of democracy gets put back into the hands of the people, and it allows them to have a lot more say and a lot more leadway and less financial fees going into a bank, which is part of the reason why you go into black and brown neighborhoods. You see a lot of Western Unions, checks cash, MoneyGrams, because people don't have access to bank accounts because the fees are too high. They can't maintain the balance, um, and there's so much economic instability within these areas. And the public banking system would actually change all of that in reverse and put the power back into these people's hands.
Mm. Yeah. It was an interesting video for one. They in the video they mentioned the quote unquote gold standard of public banks in America, which is the Public Bank of North Dakota, and how they during the last recession they were unaffected because they somewhat was detachable from the big banks, the Bank of America's, the Wells Fargo's, and so forth. Everything you said is true. Everything that was said in the video was true. You put the hands back into the investors of the bank. The bank then can reinvest back into the immediate community the bank is in, roads, sidewalks, businesses, so forth and so forth. You are able to receive lower um, interest on home loans, different type of loans, car, personal, uh, even money for school. This is just different low interest that you are able to receive from a public bank. It's a good idea. Unfortunately, it didn't receive the votes that was needed, but that's not to say these people should give up. I don't think they'll give up. They'll keep it going, but this should be implemented in black neighborhoods. A lot of black people do complain constantly, over and over and over again, how quote unquote they don't care about us. The entire list of complaints that's said about black people. It gets nauseatingly tired hearing about it. Even when you tell them what they can do, the power they have to change that situation and help themselves. To me, it seems like people are just satisfied with complaining. But the public bank is a great idea you can use it to help build your communities. I remember Dr. Claude Anson would say, your communities where you hold your wealth. You can hold your wealth in your communities through this bank and make sure crime goes down. The things that are being done in your communities to make it dilapidated and just dangerous to live in, all that can go away.
What's going on, Jack?
What's going on,
Say,
brothers?
oh, what's going on, Jack? How you doing today?
Doing good, I know. I like that what you said, like um, how it can make a difference in the community. But to me, I think um, like okay, maybe I didn't catch in the beginning when you said it, Mike. But what makes this more beneficial, than using a traditional bank? I know. And do you think that? Okay, I don't think that the people are very receptive to it. I don't know why, but do you think people will become more receptive to it in the future? So that's a question I have
It,
to you guys.
it's not so much that people aren't receptive to it. It's really the your upper class that doesn't want that. You have a lot of people who are invested into these BOAs and TDs and these other private institutions that don't want a private bank showing up because that's where if black people put their money out of Bank of America and these other private institutions, that's gonna cause a domino effect. They don't want that. So there's pressure being put on people to not vote on these areas. This is just me speaking, and also this, and also we are not certified financial planners. If you are
Hmm.
looking for CFP, you can go to cfp.net. We do not give out financial advice here. But to your point, to your question, the reason why it's not getting a lot of support because people are a little bit ignorant. Sadly to say, they don't really understand what a public banking institution is. They understand what a public school is, and they fight for to send these kids into these crappy public schools, but they don't understand the value of a public bank. So that's some of the stuff that I've been working on over here on the East Coast as well, on public banking structures. So there's ways of getting around this and actually making it work and making it feasible. But you have to have people at the table, and that's exactly what a public bank would actually do. It would actually bring a whole community to the table, and they have to vote on some of these instruments and products that would be offered. Whereas if you had a private bank, they would never invite you to the table because you're just a peasant to them. So it removes peasantry, but it actually puts power into the peasantry.
Hmm. And you hit with the public schools, you can fix them up, own the buildings, make sure you get cutting edge learning curriculum to technology to help implement the curriculum, pay the teachers well. You can be a shining example of other people in what to do. Um, the these potholes that take forever to fill. It's just say, hey, go just fix the street. Yeah.
Yeah, there's more efficiency in public banking because there's more oversight. So what happens with most municipalities is that there's a lack of oversight, so that we don't really know where the money's going. Um,
Hmm.
that where taxes are collected. Until I know's point, you could actually manage your public infrastructure a lot better, including public schooling and public libraries. That all of that stuff can be consolidated under a public banking infrastructure because we know where the money is going. But the real motivation to not have a public banking infrastructure is to because of gentrification. So there's an urgency to gentrify these areas, and if you have a public banking infrastructure there, then what happens is those people are attached to those to that institution where your wealth is. Like Lionel was saying earlier about Dr. Claude Anderson. That's where all your power is going to be, and it's going to be involved in land trust and things of that nature. But with my opinion on this is that with all this digital infrastructure being put in place, blockchain, cryptocurrencies, mobile payments, and things of that nature, all of that is going to be a game changer going forward. So it has failed for right now, but come 2020, 2024, you're going to see a big major change. I would say by 2024, you're going to see a major change. What's going on, brother Dollar Will?
What's going on, Dollar? How you doing today?
What's happening, fellas?
All right. Tonight
Peace
may be
out.
a good show.
Every show is a good show with the Black Brain Trust.
You have a point there, sir. I stand corrected.
So, what's your thoughts on this dollar?
I'm catching up, fellas. Go ahead. I'll jump in. I'm
Okay, so
catching up to where y'all are.
all right, that's cool. So you
Yeah.
think this because what's in my head right now is Claude Anderson, right? You think this ties into the power economics? You think it ties into that kind of what they're doing and what us as a black community should be doing as well?
Wait, hold on.
Huh?
Oh, never mind, never mind. No, I got the back.
I know. Can you
The
mute yourself, please?
yeah.
Yeah, like kind of like yeah, like I say again, like what Claude Anderson's Dr. Claude Anderson is doing, and like you know, us as a black community, should we kind of be pulling our resources together? Kind of what's left of the black community, pull our resources together to do the same thing, because we can take it looks like something we can take out of that playbook and implement ourselves, and we can then with that type of money put together, we can create instant power for ourselves. So what's your thoughts on that, brothers?
It's. I was going to let Dollar Will answer, but
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm still trying. Can you mean with the economic impact of us having our own banking?
public bank.
I'm sorry. You chopped up. Is that what we're discussing?
Wait,
I'm
repeat
not.
the question again, Jack.
Sorry about that. All right, so like what's in my mind right now is like Dr. Claude Anderson, right? And I know he's and I think about like power economics, right? So it's like you think us as a black community could take a copy from kind of what he says and also what they're doing and create our own type of public banking for as a black community. I know they have black owned banks, but like far as like that right there itself and it's exclusively black communities, black people in the black communities doing something like this, like you think that would create like more of an instant power?
Sure. I mean, if we had banks and credit unions that we participated in, that we controlled, yeah, they banks and credit union, they loan to businesses in the community. But it's a cultural change in us, just like other things when we talk about blacks have to want to support something, one another. It's a cultural connection that an identification that we have to make, you know, because a credit union, they're going to be sympathetic to that local business in a way that a big bank that's serving the broader community is not. So, and when businesses do well in the community that have accounts at the bank or credit union, that strengthens the bank or credit union even further. But it's something that it's sort of like it's a marriage, it's a mindset between the community and the banking structure, that we have to evolve to that level.
Can I paint a picture for everybody? We all have this image of the early '60s and the '50s, the the era of that era of when black people were, segregated. We did live to ourselves. All our communities were not perfect, but the ones that were intact had businesses, had black hotels and movies and so forth. Those were the ones that there was no public housing. Everybody had their own house. Families lived amongst each other. Um, streets were nice, the cars were nice, the pavement was nice, the lawns were nice. This is a domino effect. Take that picture, apply it to the current times, input new technologies such as blockchain, fintech, that allows you to be more diligent in knowing where the money is going. Um, Input more jobs that are being made. You can provide financial classes to people who create an account with you. The same people that look like you that create an account with you. You can also offer these financial classes even to the people who do not create an account with you. You can make sure that your communities have the type of businesses that is needed for that community to have. You know, that picture is a pristine picture for the Black community in America and for other Black communities in America to look at and try to mimic. That's the picture we're speaking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to. I'm sorry. I want to bang that drum one more time on the cultural thing. Just this one simple thing. Can you imagine how strong we would be in these in the cities where we have large numbers if every black church had a black bank? I passed the mic. If
I
they
don't
had a
know. I
relationship,
don't know if I can agree with that. I don't know if I can agree with that, right? Because most people who go to black churches actually live in these black neighborhoods, so you would have to separate the church from the public institution itself,
I'm
right?
sorry.
Because it's
I'm sorry.
if
I
you
didn't.
talk about
When I meant have, I'm sorry. I meant had a relationship. If every black church had a
oh, okay,
relationship with a black bank, yeah, I'm sorry. I was not precise. Yeah, because there's
okay,
enough
that
money
makes more
we have
sense now.
flowing through the church, and if just at that level, if the churches had their bank accounts at black banks,
Hmm.
one, we would have more than a handful of banks because we certainly have more than a handful of churches, and we have mega churches, so we know we got money. So, what would the economic impact be if the parishioners just demanded that their church banked at the black bank?
Hmm.
It would have to be a public bank, right? So it wouldn't be just black people in it. Although you would
Correct.
have black people as a majority stakeholder, right? But
Correct.
I want to get back to Lionel's point about creating jobs, right? This would actually create more co-ops. So you have more timeshare based operations where people have to bring something to the table. So you can't just come, with an empty hand, begging for anything, right? You would have to bring something to the table. You would have to have more bartering involved. People who have pickup trucks and SUVs and things of that nature could be useful for transporting goods. People who have these vans could actually we could actually push Lyft and Uber out of the picture, out of these cities by voting through our financial power and saying, no, nah, we really don't want that. We'll manage our own transportation ourselves, our own ride sharing and our own car sharing operations ourselves, and that keeps jobs flowing through co-ops. And then you also have bonds being created through these public banks. So now you have 1 year bonds, 3 year bonds, 5 year bonds, and 10 year bonds. Or I shouldn't say bonds, notes, actually treasury notes, because it's an actual bank. And that's where you can put that into. Let's say you take a 10 year bond, a 10 year treasury note. I think treasury notes only go up to like 7 years, but let's say a 10 year treasury note, and you put that into a child's when a child is born, every black child that is born, you have a treasury note ready for them when they're born, so that when they become of age, there's maturation over that 10 years because there's going to be future development in the volatility.
And that makes a lot of sense. I think all you guys I just made like that makes a lot of sense though. With that, the thing is, I think in the black community, it's more of an issue of, I think in the past it was more of an issue of financial literacy, right? And something like this can definitely, you know, kind of solve that issue. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, yeah, it's a good idea.
I just want to throw one more piece in there is that then you start talking about land trusts because the bank would be surrounded by vacant parcels or other parcels within the area. Um, those parcels could be repurposed for community housing. Instead of having quote unquote projects that the government hands down, you have more more sustainable housing. I mean, Jack, you and I talked about tiny houses and container homes and things of that nature. Those things are so cost efficient. You wouldn't need the money grabbing development that some of these developers come by and try to siphon out from the government because now it has to go through a public institution. And we can say no, you can't build here unless it's energy efficient, unless it's renewable materials and things of that nature. And plus, the people who would actually build it would be the people who are a part of this whole public banking infrastructure because the co-ops actually could come from that. So you have your money bouncing 10 times before it even leaves the actual environment. It goes to the public bank. It gets paid to this person. This person spends it at this local business. That local business pays it right back to the bank. The bank redistributes it again. It goes back into another person's pocket. That person's pocket. I mean, that person actually spends it at another black business. And then it comes back in, goes back through the public bank, comes back out again. It's really, really a simple process.
It's like, so you're saying the way you're explaining it is like how we look at you go to New York City, right, and you'll see Jewish communities, Asian communities, certain communities they kind of keep their money in the community, right, and that money circulate a various number of times before it goes out. So it's kind of the same thing, correct?
To an extent, those are more private institutions. Whereas a public institution, we actually have voting power and we can control the municipality better that way. So you control the environment. Whereas some of these Chinese banks, they don't really control anything. They really just manage the cash flow.
No, I'm saying like more like communities, like let's say like a community like you have like for example, you have the Dearborn community, the Islamic community in Detroit. That was built up in 40 years with the dollar around. And you have like Jewish communities in New York, right? They move the dollar around, right? And it's like I'm kind of saying in that sense, not so much like a Chinese bank, but I don't know if I'm saying it the right way. Okay, I get what you're
No, I
saying
understand
now.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. All right, let me get to the next article. All right, next article is Crypto Briefing. Buying Bitcoin in Africa, the hustle of cryptocurrency trading. Um, let me just read the first paragraph. Buying Bitcoin in Africa, the hustle of cryptocurrency trading. Low liquidity is more than an inconvenience. It's an invitation. It's an invitation to scammers. When you heard about the prospect of a digital asset that had an assured profit tag attached, Brenda Brenda got weary, knew she had to get herself some. Living in Kenya's capital city, Nairobi, she had anticipated the headache that purchasing cryptocurrencies would turn out to be. At the time, the only available platforms were peer-to-peer trading platforms. The most popular, which was local bitcoins. She created an account and initiated the purchasing process. You can read the rest. Or actually, did I? We'll drop the link in the chat. But what this article is talking about is the complexities of dealing with cryptocurrencies in Africa and how difficult it is for the average person to obtain it because they don't have a more progressive structure when it comes to localized cryptocurrencies. Um, although Africa does have a pretty unique infrastructure um, for dealing with phone-to-phone payments and peer-to-peer payments, cryptocurrencies haven't been adopted by most governments yet, especially the Kenyan government. But what's happening here in this article is that this woman wants to get inside of crypto trading. So the trading of cryptocurrencies, of Bitcoin and even Ethereum and some of these other altcoins. And what's happening here is that there's a lack of oversight. People are getting robbed on these trading platforms. Once a person actually buys a crypto, they may never even receive it. A person sells a crypto, they can take it back from the user before the user even gets it, and they keep the user's money and then keep the crypto itself. So there's a lot of complexities of dealing with cryptocurrencies on the ground in Africa, and Africa has actually developed a platform called BitPesa, which is a way for dealing with cross-border payments and transactions using cryptos.
Hmm. Yeah, local Bitcoins is a place where a person can go and it's a peer-to-peer purchase Bitcoins from a person. You send them cash and they send you the Bitcoins. Due to the lack of oversight, due to the lack of proper infrastructure to prevent scams, to prevent, as the article stated, where you in Kenya specifically have the M-Pesa model where you can send the person funds and they can send you the Bitcoins, but then they can go back and call their service provider, their phone service provider, to reverse the transaction. Th- these little things makes it difficult for Africans to jump into the crypto sphere successfully. It did talk about Nigeria is more open to crypto and crypto trading, but still, it's been said time and time again that Africa and South America will be the places where crypto can explode due to a lot of its inhabitants not having bank accounts. Crypto, one of the things that makes crypto, um, uh, one of the lures of crypto is being your own bank. You can send funds from peer to peer without the necessity of a bank. So people, Africans, they get into this, they can make things work. So if they have that oversight, that infrastructure, that exchange, it would make things better. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that these people lost their money. Local Bitcoins is not perfect. Um, you do have to be safe on there. You do have to make sure that the person is who they say they are. Um, yeah.
Yeah, that's unfortunate that cryptocurrencies could develop a stigma before it really gets going. And question, um, do you know if I guess sporadic electricity in certain places, is that going to be is that like a big problem?
Trading cryptocurrencies in places with sporadic
Yeah,
electricity.
yeah. Does one impact the other? I mean, we're talking digital currencies, and I'm presuming that they have more smartphones in Africa than say laptop and desktop computers, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess not. I guess electricity is less of a problem if you're using a smartphone. Just thinking out loud, versus if you're using a desktop or something. So I guess not.
And then we've one of our stories where on our space and technology chat where companies are setting up a blockchain energy grid, such as in Nigeria, that will help to keep the lights on constantly without the sporadic um, lights out in these African countries. So that infrastructure would make things even more stable.
Also, fewer blackouts.
Yes, fewer blackouts. I was trying to say the word with as I was speaking. Yeah, fewer blackouts. Almost none. Almost none. No blackouts.
So they'll go light skin. Bad joke. I'm sorry.
Funny, funny.
We'll go brown skin instead of black. All right. Bad joke. I'm sorry. It's all in the family. It's all in the family.
Yeah,
You know.
it's not racist. We black. It's not racist.
Right.
Yeah. 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 Right now they have M-Pesa. M-Pesa is, everyone knows what M-Pesa is. You can send, it's like China's WeChat. You can send money from another person with through their mobile devices. It's just that the infrastructure of cryptocurrency is not as stable as other countries. It's not as robust as other countries. So, and on top of that, a lot of these African governments makes it illegal to hold cryptocurrency. So, um, it's harder there.
Seeing that there's so security wise, people are kind of vulnerable to like getting their money stolen. They're open up like that. Do you think that what do you think as far as regulation? I know they're trying to push for that. I know there's a need for that as far as regulation and securities when it comes to crypto and especially in Africa. What type of ways can what type of things they can do to protect themselves from something like this happening? I think we discussed it a few hangouts ago, but is there new technology coming out to protect crypto theft or anything like close to that?
Well,
You need governance. You need governance, and I think in the article it discusses that there's a ICT, basically a innovation cryptocurrency, committee that basically is overseeing the innovation of cryptocurrency, blockchain, and all that stuff. And I think most countries are starting to adopt this whole entire strategy to prevent, these type of things from happening. The only reason it is happening because there's a lack of oversight, and there's no real way to police it, right? Because there's no institutional body set up. There's no governance set up. So governance is your first step, and then the next step is literacy, is to actually make sure that people are literate and they know what they're getting themselves into. And then number three would actually to have partial management of the infrastructure. So knowing who bought what, um, from which person, from which vendor, and things of that nature can actually prevent people from being robbed and being misled down these rabbit holes. So
and also to add on to what Mike said, uh, you would be your first line of defense. Don't really boast of, well, I have 100 Bitcoins. That you are at that point, you're making yourself you know. So
I saw that there's something in the chat. Otho Williams Jr. question: as in banks, if a bank closes an ATM, I'm assuming that's what that stands for. Um, that does make a whole lot of sense. It's an incomplete question. Uh, and then he asked another question: if your money is in the bank closed, is the cryptocurrency the same? I lose my money if the stocks drop, economy drops off. Is there a way to lose my money in cryptos? I know you have an answer for that.
yeah, cryptos are like stocks. It go up and down. Um, if you lose your private keys to access your crypto, let's go back to the stellar example. Stellar's blockchain, you own say 5,000 Stellar. To access your money from Stellar's blockchain, you would need your private keys. If you lose that, you lose your money. Also, you can lose the gains you got in growth. So you bought Stellar at 2 cent and now it's 25 cent, but it goes back down to 2 cent. That's another way you can lose money just by holding these coins. The volatility of these coins. They're not held in any banks. You hold your own money. You are your own bank. I understand people hear that a lot, but just understand you are your own bank, meaning you hold your own funds. Those are really the two ways I can see a person losing their cryptos: if they lose their private keys and if they lose money, gains, and the price is going up and they come back down.
Yeah, new encryption methods are being put in place currently as we speak. We discussed this on the Space and Technology Hangout about a blockchain phone coming from HTC called the Exodus. So
Hmm.
that makes it even that makes it your smartphone a hard wallet basically. So there's going to be more value to holding onto your phone now than ever before. So I know some people kind of take their phone to the bathroom and be texting, and next thing you know, it ends up in the toilet, going down the drain. Going down the next flush. You probably won't. You probably won't do that. Your phone will be very safeguarded if you value your money and you value your identity. So
Well, that might be a reason that we're likely to have greater appreciation for cloud storage.
right, but once it's in the cloud, it's out of your hands.
Uh, yes, but I can get that information back. I mean, as you mentioned, if my phone flushes down the toilet, I can get that data back, right?
Not necessarily, right? I mean, think about it this way, right? The objective is to put the key on your phone. It's to turn your phone into a hard wallet. So if you lose your phone, then you also you lose your key. But what happens with the blockchain of this HTC Exodus phone, it allows you to actually catch it on the opposite side, right? So it's on the blockchain. So even if you did lose your phone, what could happen possibly if it's set up like the way I'm saying that it should be, is you should be able to get the same phone and download that same exact that your identity again back to that phone. Probably a few authentication steps. Like I don't know if you guys ever heard of Duo, but Duo basically sends you a text message to verify with a six digit pin.
Yeah, I
And
was thinking
you
in
can
terms
click
of.
accept or reject.
I was thinking in terms. I know we don't want to go here, but Apple. If you got an iPhone, you go get a new phone. If you know your ID, that data, your phone gets loaded with all of your data from the cloud. So wouldn't my wallet also be restored in that situation?
Similar, similar, but replace cloud with blockchain.
Hmm.
Okay, so so instead of me getting, let's see, so you're saying the contents that's on the blockchain that, let's see, the
Because
part
remember,
of it that I'm throwing away my key. I'm throwing away when my phone is destroyed, I'm losing my key. I guess my question really is, if let's say I have an iPhone and I have my key on my phone, on my iPhone, is my key being backed up to the iCloud?
No,
Okay.
the iCloud
That's
the iCloud is not. Yeah, the iCloud is not the blockchain. It's not the
Oh,
same
I
thing.
know the iCloud is not the blockchain, but the key exists as some data on the phone, right?
your
Right,
key,
it's a hard key on your phone.
yeah, your private keys allows you to access a crypto.
Yeah, I got that, but the key is just is data, right?
Right. It's data.
electronic data. It's
It's
data.
data.
So
Exactly.
when my phone is being backed up, my iPhone is being backed up to the cloud. Isn't that key, that data key, isn't that also being backed up to the iCloud?
No,
Hopefully not.
no, it doesn't.
Okay.
It doesn't because it runs in a container. It runs in what they call microservices or a microservice on your phone, and that can't be backed up.
Gotcha.
It's immutable. It's immutable, but it can't necessarily be backed up.
Gotcha. Thank you for the clarification.
Yes. Um, Otho Williams Jr. asks, so the quality and value of the phones may go up as well. Yes, yes, and we've talked about this quite a few times on the Hangout. The last few Hangouts, you're seeing the price of iPhones go up. Damn near $1,500. iPad Pro going up damn near 1899. Mac Mini's going up. So the value of the phone will go up relative to the capabilities that it has. So if it's a blockchain phone, it's going to have perceived higher value because of its capabilities. So yes, it will go up. I don't foresee Apple getting involved in this, but I do see Android, Google taking the front lead on this.
And if I have a six-figure, or heck, even $25,000 in cryptocurrencies, I think I'll complain less about paying more for a phone.
Hmm.
I think I
You
would
should
be
get
more
yourself.
willing to pay more.
Yeah, you should get yourself an Android phone.
All right, we'll see.
All right, let me jump to the next article. All right, this next article is from Forbes. New report finds student debt burden has disastrous domino effect on millions of Americans. You know, stupid pop-ups, man. This is absurd. All right, like many other student loan borrowers, Sean Vaillancourt of Fitchburg, Maine, found student debt has forced him and his wife to put their lives on hold after a year. Student debt has been difficult for my marriage as we are both working to mainly pay off this debt. Vaillancourt reported. We are waiting to have children and to buy a home because our combined student debt is more than a mortgage on a home. This debt has been a huge burden and point of contention throughout our last 10 years. So I didn't send this article. It was actually Jack that sent this. So I'll let Jack take the lead if he has any points he wants to cover on it.
Yeah, this topic kind of sticks out to me because I know a lot of people in my circle are affected by student loan debt. There's people I know who they're both um, have their graduate degrees. They're a couple, and they have at least a couple $100,000 in debt. And they had it's a whole lifestyle change for them, right? So I think this is something that's affecting Americans. I think like the debt right now is at about $1.7 trillion, if I'm correct. So um, is this something that something needs to be addressed? The article it was giving some statistics. If you slide down, if you can look over it, it will give us some statistics on kind of like who's being affected primarily by student loan debt and how. But yeah, I think everybody's affected. Even I'm affected by it. So I think it's something that I think we do discuss at certain times, and I think, but we don't really. Everybody is affected by it, but a lot of people are affected by it, but they don't really like address the problem because that's like it's about to be $2 trillion real soon. So um, that's just my bits on it.
I think we're going to see student loan debt be. I'm surprised it wasn't a bigger issue in the last campaign, but I think in the next presidential campaign, it's going to be an issue. People gonna come forward with some remedies for it, and if that doesn't happen, then it's just going to continue to be a problem.
But I think people are finding their own ways to deal with this by taking different avenues to get an education. I know Mike sent out the little article, I think it was Forbes, that said people are going to these sites such as edX.org to get education, these micromaster degrees and certifications as a way to still get educated. Still, people are going to these community colleges. I know Chicago for the City College of Chicago, which are 7 colleges spread across the city. You know, you can go to any college and the transfers are credit because they're just one college, but divided in 7. The For a part time, it's $599 a semester, and full time it's like $1,000 a semester. You know, you get your associate's degree and you go to these sites like edX. You know, that's much cheaper than $15,000 a semester, or if you go to a private institution, $25,000 a semester. You know,
Wow.
these people with these couple $100,000 debt, they can't live their life. They can't have children. They can't have a house. Their life is totally impacted by this decision that we all were taught. I'm assuming a lot of these people are millennials, that we were all taught to go to school and get your education, but we were sucked into. In hindsight, I'm not saying that the generations before us suckered us, but these these people that raised the cost of education suckered us, and now we're left holding the financial bag of this student loan debt. So people are going different ways to get an education.
Yeah, I think it was a casualty of capitalism. Okay,
Hmm.
where on one level, um, what I've seen in my life, and again, around 54 years old. Over the time, I've seen businesses uh, get out of the on the job training. That hardly exists anywhere now. When I was younger, businesses were expected to do that, and you were expected to go to school or get some training on your own. But over the years, corporations have completely abdicated their responsibility, or no longer see it as their responsibility to train people. And society has grown accustomed with that position. We see that as the norm, and I'm just saying it was not always the norm. And so, so that's one huge thing that changed. And then you started seeing a lot of next you started seeing a lot of as corporations stopped doing training, more stuff got pushed off to various types of schools. Whether it's a traditional college or university, or some specialized training program that will pop up, and all these different and alternative approaches to education started qualifying for financial aid. Okay, and so now so it became a business, a huge business, to offer training or education, because if you could get your program qualified to receive students with federal aid. So loan student loans. And so it basically left the student holding the bag. So the universities got the money, uh, and the corporations got an employee that they didn't have to train, or didn't have to start from scratch, and everybody was happy except the student. So in the end, I think it was government's responsibility to look out for how this would impact the citizenry, and government failed.
So it was more of a
Yeah,
policy issue then.
Yeah.
Mm.
they turn
Interesting.
they turn student loans they turn student loan debt into tradable assets on the market.
Hmm.
You know, nobody
Mm.
had a crystal ball back in the past. We this had never happened before. You know, those rates that you quoted for what it costs to go to junior college or community college in Chicago. That's about what it cost at most colleges and universities in the 80s. That was
Wow.
normal. I went to
Yeah.
Howard. I paid like $2,000 a semester. You
Really?
could, yeah, yeah. So when I was going to school, you really could get a job at this. Well, I was gonna say People's Drugstore. That's what it was before it became CVS. Because what I did, you could work at Burger King and CVS, and you could put yourself through college without having to get student loans. Okay, that doesn't exist with your generation. My generation, getting massive loans to go to school, that rarely happened.
Dang, I know. I think isn't like Howard one of the like most expensive historical black
Now,
colleges?
yes, now, yeah, it's frighteningly expensive. Yes,
Now see, that's the difference between our generations. That a lot of people who want to do the blame game for millennials, they forget the prices of things in your generations were um lower to the pay you were getting paid.
correct.
Now things are more expensive, so people take out loans. So people take credit lines of credit to purchase things. The
and
same thing.
and let me add this: a lot of companies, many more companies, offered tuition reimbursement or tuition assistance of some sort. So even if you did have to get a loan or you didn't have the money, but you had a job, many jobs paid for you to go to school, especially if you were studying something that would benefit that company because they wanted to keep you. So over time, companies not only stop training, stop offering you tuition reimbursement.
Hmm.
So the companies abandoned the workers. They said real companies came to view it as not their responsibility to train the workers. Sort of like the NFL treatment. NFL uses the college system to as their farm league. They don't have a league like minor league like baseball. They get the player pretty much already trained. And so corporate America essentially moved to that same model. And they made you train yourself, made you pay for it all the entire freight all on your own. And that's not the way it was historically. So what you're seeing right now, it's un-American.
Hmm.
It's an un-American
Yeah,
activity.
and as tuition rates go up, college staff got bigger, more administrators, more um, staff members that really did nothing, guidance counselors that really didn't guide you anywhere. Just a whole litany of staff members that needed to be paid for, and people paying these high tuition rates were actually subsidizing the cost of staff members at a school.
Economic exploitation at its best.
Damn.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And then
You know,
to your point,
go
Dollar
ahead.
Will, where they stopped training people on the job is when those H-1B visas started coming in, where we can get a Indian person or a Pakistani person to come in and do the work for one quarter of the cost of a salary of a potential American. And this hurt African Americans because African Americans or black people actually were the people who got those middle class opportunities uh, through these um, through these roles that were created. Now that you have H-1B visas coming in, they came in and just basically took those jobs. While at the same time, the companies were saying, "Look, we we're so diverse. We have black and brown people." When it was really just Indians and women, and they basically just marginalized black people out of the roles.
Right.
Hold on,
That
hold on, hold
age
on.
and
See,
that that. Go ahead, Drat.
no, I was saying like they work for that much less of pay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Damn.
And even when they come here, when the foreigners come here and their pay is the same or whatever, you need they're getting paid what you get paid. But there's still domestic displacement, and I didn't even know what a H1B program was. I saw it. I think there was a requirement, a federal requirement that you have to post it somewhere, jobs that are hired based on that. You have to post it, and I looked at like some community, in some public board in my place of employment. And I said, "What is this?" So I had to go to the computer and look it up. I had no knowledge of it. I had never heard any black organizations talking about this as a threat. I think it just kind of snuck up on us. It's like every generation, the black community has have to deal with some new strategy that's been put in place to disenfranchise us. Okay, so the landscape keeps changing. So when I hear millennials say, "Well, why did you let this happen? Why did you let that happen?" It's because the deal just keeps getting reshuffled. The system, those forces that are against us, they don't sleep. They're active and they're working.
Now, one overarching theme is the influx of foreigners. That's one overarching thing of one generation to the next is the influx of foreigners dating back to the early 1900s when the United States said, "Give me your poor,
Is
give me
that
your
you?
weak."
I'm sorry. Is that you, Jack? Moving? Who's got
Yeah,
the
that's
mic
Jack.
noise?
That's Jack.
Okay, hold up. Sorry.
Mute up. Mute up.
When America said, "Give me your poor, give me your weak" in the early 1900s, so you had this influx of um, immigrants. Same now with this influx of immigrants. A lot of people in the black community want to say, "Hey, um, have you experienced racism?" That what's going on in their country doesn't matter to you. You don't live in Honduras. You don't live in Ecuador. You live in America. Your our stint in America has been hard. We're trying to get better in America, and we cannot get better by bringing more and more people that'll suck up the resources, B, take the resources, and leave us with less resources to get our plight in America better. That does not work. It does not work like that.
Well, the system works the way it's designed to work.
Yeah, that I agree with.
Okay,
My
we're delusional.
yeah,
Right,
yeah,
but
I
we're
agree. Yes,
delusional.
the
Okay,
system does work. My
this
beef is
country,
with
all of these
lack of black
countries
people.
have a policy, have had an opinion about the racial composition of their country, and they've had policies to create the racial composition that they want. Now we're in denial about that. I heard Claude Anderson talking about that one time, and he mentioned something about the growth of Asian and Hispanic
Hmm.
populations and how they've spiked since the '60s since the late '50s and early '60s. So I put in some time, and I actually went to look at the census data from the late '50s forward, and you will see the numbers go up at such an alarming rate that it's no way that it wasn't a result of a deliberate policy. You'll
Mean
see
what?
the numbers are very low, and then I mean, it's like we think when right now people say, well, Hispanic population, they're like 13% or about the same as the black population. Well, that did you go back in late '50s, early '60s, you won't see that. So you go, no, wait a minute, how could that population grow so fast while ours is, not
Remain the
grown
same.
as fast? Well, that's a result of policy. That's planning. That's
Mhm.
planning. And so, so the coming out of the '60s, you see that the whole minority discussion started to change from the '70s forward, from being a black issue to a minority issue, and the word minority has a meaning, and even the word discrimination has a legal meaning, and those words don't mean black. We 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 think they mean black. when we were the predominant non-white entity here, it meant black, but over time, it means everybody, not every. It means everybody that's not a white male, basically. And that includes white women. Everybody, you can put everybody in that bus, and they can qualify as a minority. And so the
Mm-hmm.
pie that used to be just for us is now shared among everyone. And then these new terms came forward called diversity. Okay, they changed the language on us, and they went from talking about minority issues to talking about diversity issues. They stopped using the word minority, they started using the word diversity. And so
And
then the issue became all of the other groups you can imagine. And in companies, they no longer discuss black issues, and whatever equality and parity we were seeking had to fall in line with the broader diversity objectives.
and then you got these idiots out here, these black idiots out here that say, "Well, my family wasn't born in Africa. I'm not African. I'm American." Y-
Mm. I know. We'll get to this next article. I know where you're going with this.
Fucking idiots.
All right, this next article is from Smartarium. Confirmed. American Express is officially using Ripple's X Current. XRP news today, Friday, November 9th. The vice president of American Express, Colin O'Flaherty, on Wednesday confirmed that the company was officially using X Current, a blockchain-based financial solution from Ripple Incorporated. O'Flaherty, who doubles as general manager of Global Commercial Services UK in Russia, spoke at last day of the Money 2020 event held from the 4th to the 6th of June in Amsterdam. Ripple offers instantaneous point-to-point conversations between sender and receiver of funds, and that provides a real opportunity to alleviate most of the issues our customers are facing, he said at discussion session event. So American Express is joining MasterCard and Visa on this whole entire blockchain bandwagon to stop launching patents for payment transactions. It's not uncommon that these companies are going to try to get involved, but what is important is that they're using Ripple's X Current.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've read an article. Or quite a few articles of many different medium to large size corporations, Fortune 100 and Fortune 500 companies and Fortune 1000 companies actually adopting Ripple or X Current and XRP. So, what's your takes on this? I know.
Yeah, during the last bull run at the end of last year, um, news did come out that American Express did partner with Ripple, the company, to use XRP, XRapid. These partnerships, American Express is not a bank, but still, you can still use they can still use X Rapid and Ripple's XRP native token. With the SWIFT system, when you want to send money to another country, A, it takes a while, depending on where you send it. And B, a lot of these countries have to have what you will call these Nostra Vostra accounts, meaning the country that they like, let's say Singapore, you're sending money from Singapore to Italy. Singapore will have to have the Italian an account with the Italian currency and vice versa. Italy will have to have a bank account with the Singaporean currency. And it's an old system. It takes a while. It involves multiple banks. It's not instant. You are dealing with currency volatility in the both the currencies. So it's sluggish, it's slow. It's basically a dinosaur. But with this Ripple, the company and their technology, X Rapid, X Current, X Via, the whole Ripple net, it's instant. It's instant. The only thing that's needed is for the two banks that are doing the transaction is to be a part of RippleNet. And to be a part of RippleNet means you are using Ripple's technology. So it's instant. And more people are coming on board. More and more banks, institutions are coming on board to use Ripple's RippleNet. Now, some food for thought. The total supply of XRP is 100 billion. The foreign exchange market is $1 trillion, has not 1 trillion, but a multiple $1 trillion market cap. If you have countries that are using this, you have banks that are using this, and different institutions that are using this, the price of XRP would have to be more than what it is now in the future for them to send billions of dollars and millions of dollars across corridors, across banking institutions. Just some food for thought. Just some food for thought. But swinging back to this, the article mentioned how MoneyGram was using XRapid, had trialed XRapid, how other institutions had trialed XRapid. This system is coming online slower and slower, but it's coming online.
Well, I think the fact that a lot of institutions are talking about some level of standardization, I think that's great. Now, back to what you were saying about the limited number of that of what is it X Rapid? Is it like that's what
The limited number supply of XRP tokens.
XRP? Okay, limited number of XRP. Let me ask you this: if it became quote unquote a money supply issue, why can't they just print more, create more?
No, but then that'll cause inflation. It's coded into the system that the total supply is 400.
What happens when it reaches that number?
The price of each XRP will have to go up per
Oh, I
XRP.
mean, but let's say when the last XRP is created and there's no more XRPs created, and only the that maximum number is moving around within the economy, so it'll just grow in value, but they won't create more. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, now you're saying from a standpoint where XRP is basically a world currency.
Well, if you start talking about credit card issuers and they doing business all over the world, it could get you know
It
I think
can't get that way.
it can get there,
Yeah.
yeah, fast. It can get there fast,
Now, in
and
the
especially on the consumer side, when we realize that these banks and credit card issuers, one, they are international, and that they
Mhm.
can do transactions easier if I use that currency. So the fact that these bigger institutions are going to use XRP, that's going to be a powerful incentive for me to use it too.
Right. Now, in the explanation I was giving, if a one bank was sending, if multiple banks were sending a couple $1 billion and a total 2 billion, even though it's instant, you would need that amount of that total of XRP to send it. So let's say you're sending, like in the example I said, Singapore to Italy. It's instant. So that XRP would go back into rotation and other banks or countries or institutions would use it. It'll take a couple seconds. So it's not like a couple days. This amount of XRP is hung up for a couple days. No, it's instant. So yeah, that with that. Now in your In your example, if XRP was a global currency, the price would have to be either they would have to raise the cap on the number of XRP in circulation, or the price would have to be in a would have to be high per
Yeah,
XRP.
yeah. I want to restate something I said. It wasn't. It's not. If the big banks and credit card issuers use XRP, it's not an incentive for me to use it. They will be determining that I use it because in order for me to do business with them, that will be the cryptocurrency that I'll have to use. They are making the choice for me, basically. I'm not saying I object to that, but you know,
Ideally, ideally, and we know who we're talking about with these institutions. Ideally, to make this last long, you would not print more XRP. You would the price would just rise in order to compensate for it being used more widely. Ideally, you know.
it's probably not a problem that XRP that the token increases in value, um, because you will be using a smaller fraction of each
Exactly.
token to make a purchase because it'll be worth so much. It's like if I held a bar of gold in my hand, if I had to take a shaving of that gold off every time I,
Hmm.
you know, bought a
Purchasing
movie
credit.
ticket,
Yeah.
bought some Nikes or whatever, you
Or some
know.
cowboy tickets, right?
Yeah. So I
So the
guess
price will have to go up instead of printing more XRP. Ideally, ideally,
right.
and that's in your example, if XRP were to be a currency throughout the world.
Yeah, but I tell you, when you start talking about banks and credit cards companies, if it's safe enough for them, it's safe enough for me.
Hmm. Hmm.
All right, let's get to our next article. All right, this next article is from EthereumWorldNews.com. Swift denies partnership with Ripple. After intense speculation about possible Ripple Swift partnership, the rumor finally seems to be nearing its end after Swift categorically denied there were any conversations between the two companies. According to an exclusive from finance magnets, a Swift spokesperson denied the rumors after the journalist team contacted them trying to obtain official statements to clarify the situation. So, let me read the quote real quick. I'm not sure where those rumors are coming from, but the upcoming standards release is entirely unrelated to RippleNet. Its primary purpose is to ensure all payments, including a track and reference OODA, unique end-to-end transaction reference, which allow banks to track their GPI payments end-to-end in real time. So Swift, for those who don't understand this, Swift is the traditional financial transaction system that is Dollar brother, can you mute yourself? Um, yeah, Swift is the financial transaction system that the globe uses that came out of Europe. Um, this was in the 90s, and it's used for making payments. That's why when you pay any bills, anything like that, there's like a 3 day delay or 72-hour hold because that's the way the Swift system is designed. And most banks, if not all banks, actually use the SWIFT system. Very few banks don't use them, don't use the system. And this is why a country like Iran or Cuba or Venezuela, when they say they're putting sanctions on somebody, a country, what happens is the SWIFT system denies the payment. So now the money is trapped and can't pass through the system, and that hurts a lot of people and it hurts a lot of businesses and it hurts a lot of countries as well. So that's what the SWIFT system is. Them denying a partnership with Ripple doesn't surprise me, and the reason why it doesn't surprise me is because um, Ripple is an actual alternative to the SWIFT system. Basically, there is no real reason for SWIFT to work with Ripple because if if you include Ripple, then that denies Swift's existence, and it means that Swift can be easily replaced, which means that many of these other countries won't need to rely on the system itself. Um, they can just come up with their own transaction system, which is something that they don't want to do. That Swift doesn't want to see happen. What I'm speculating here is that Swift copied a lot of this or adopted a lot of the technology used to create Ripple's platform and tried to incorporate it for themselves. How well this is going to work, I don't know. Um, Usually dinosaurs don't move very fast, and what you're starting to see now is alternative systems like Ethereum, the whole blockchain, as well as platforms like Ripple take advantage of where traditional governments could not penetrate. They failed to innovate and they got left behind. So I see them denying this as a way to just not admit that they dropped the ball for themselves and um, they don't have an answer to the new kids on the block, which is Ripple and the rest of the other blockchain platforms. I know you have anything you want to add to this?
I agree wholeheartedly with you. Ripple and their technology is the new kids on the block. They're faster, they're quicker. Swift is a dinosaur. You have these countries that, if sanctions are, like you said, sanctions are put on them, Swift is used to enforce these sanctions. So it's it's hard, like you said, it's hard for them to make that switch from being what they are now to being competitive with Ripple in the technology. And also it costs less to send money overseas with Ripple. With Swift, people love them fees. The fee, you send money through Western Union, it costs a, a, a 10% of what you send. If you send thousands of dollars, it's going to cost you hundreds of dollars. The fees that makes people rich, but with Ripple, the fees are less. So it'll be hard. It's going to be hard for Swift to compete with Ripple if they don't want to get in the same technology sector with them. If they want to stay the same, you're speaking at about a dinosaur.
So it sounds like the people, the entities making money off the SWIFT system, they'd rather be a competitor than a partner. But as you just said, Lionel, it's the fees. There's so little money to be made once they kill off this dinosaur that they're dead anyway. Whether they become a partner, if they partner and go with one of the other platforms like Ripple, they're dead because the money is gone. The fees, the fee structure has been destroyed. So their only way to survive is to go it alone.
Mm-hmm.
And then now, if they fail going alone, well, at least they gave it a shot. They're going to fail if they partner.
Right. Because I don't know if anyone, I've sent money to my sister within the same city through MoneyGram. and it costs a couple dollars. I was $5 or so. And we live, but it's the fees that a lot of these people don't want to let go, get them rich. No, so yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Man, if we get like a way to put US dollar into PayPal and have someone take it out on the other side in a different currency, oh man, game over.
Right, game over.
Game over.
That'll defeat
Like who is it that owns? Does Facebook owns WhatsApp?
that. I don't know. Do they? I
Yes.
don't know. Okay.
Yeah, so
Yes,
like
they bought.
we talked about that way back. If Facebook embraces a currency and WhatsApp is is WhatsApp the largest let's say I don't want to I'm trying to differentiate it from let me see the largest chat app of its type. Is it the largest?
It's the most encrypted platform for messaging.
Does it have the largest user base?
It has a large user base, but not the largest.
Oh, it doesn't. Okay, okay. What's the largest? You know?
It might be like something like it might be something like Viber or some other messaging platform. It's hard to say. I think the most widely used is text messaging, but that's up for debate.
Gotcha, gotcha. Because I was just thinking, because you know how Facebook they have a way to send money incorporated in theirs, and it's of a couple of the larger ones like WhatsApp. If if there's a way for me to send dollars in WhatsApp and they can take it out on their side and whatever,
Mm-hmm.
game over. I think we know
Yeah.
that's going to happen, but we just sorting it out. We hear about what the credit card companies are doing. I'm waiting to hear what a big company like Facebook is doing with the kind of money that they have and where we are in this economic cycle, which is slowing down and reversing. I said on here maybe about a month ago when you get to this part in the economy where things slow down, you see a lot of mergers. And over the last month, you've seen, here you talked about Red Hat and IBM. You're going to see more and more of that. And so with some of these texting apps, I expect Facebook to get even busier and start acquiring some more. And so some giant like Facebook is going to make a decision on a particular cryptocurrency, and that's going to
Mhm.
sway the marketplace as well too.
Well, Facebook does a lot of business with advertisers, so a lot of that a lot of the business structure will be actually designed around monetizing these advertisements, right? So that's where your cryptocurrency would come in. I think Lionel talks about something called BAT. Um,
Yes. Bad.
how do you what's the abbreviation for it? It's or the
Uh,
definition for the abbreviation. It's basic
uh,
attention token.
no. Bat. Yeah. Bat. Yeah. Basic attention token. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you'll probably see things like that take place. But the advertising segment is going to blow up once
Yeah,
once they
because
figure out a way to
Facebook
integrate.
owns because Facebook owns Instagram too.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's where you're going to see. I think you're right that that advertiser presence and corporate partner presence. So we'll see how they weigh in when the when the uh, when the Facebook and the Amazon of the world and the Walmart when they weigh in, things will start to take a definite shape. Because when it comes to like even from the on the low end side, the commoners like us, what type of crypto you want to invest in, that type of thing. It's gonna sing where Walmart, Amazon, and Facebook come down on it. That's gonna influence
Mm-hmm.
what we invest in, because we're going to be familiar with that particular coin, and the market cap of that crypto, of the cryptos that say the Amazon and the Walmarts that they go with, they're going to end up being the winner
And don't forget about Telegram
or
also.
a winner. I'm going to say the winner, a huge winner.
Yeah, don't forget about Telegram. It's
Right,
a messaging app.
right. Because if you go into the store every weekend, you have your Visa or your Mastercard, and you in Walmart, and they all speaking the same crypto language. For a handful of cryptos, the general public's going to get very familiar with and very comfortable with certain crypto currencies real fast.
Mm-hmm.
Without even trying. It's going to be right there at the point of sale. Some sign, some little sticker letting you know that we accept you know, XYZ coin.
All right, let's get to our next article. All right, this one is from EthereumWorldNews.com. Young guy tortured by his friends to get the password to his crypto wallet. A group of young professional men were A group of young professional men was accused by Manhattan District Attorney's Office of breaking into a friend's apartment and torturing him in order to gain access to his wallet. According to an article from the New York Post, the group of friends went to drink and have fun. And after the victim was drunk, the criminal group seized the opportunity to break into his apartment and violently force him to reveal his secret keys to his wallet. Th- This is yeah, these are like digital thugs, man. I have never heard of something like this happening before. Makes you wonder about who you go out and have fun with. I know you sent this article, and you have anything you want to add to this?
Yeah, this just goes to, you don't boast about what you have or cryptos you have. It's not like you boast about, well, I got 10 AT&T stock, a person can't readily take those 10 AT&T shares. But if you boast that you got, let's say Tron is 2 cents, you put $100 in Tron, you got you got a nice amount in Tron, and you say, well, I got this and I got that. They can take that from you. They can torture you like they did, torture you for your private keys, take it, transfer it. So, and let's say some of these cryptos go up in price. A person may remember, like, wait a minute, such and such said he had X amount of Tron. Tron is $50 now. It, it's like the first rule in crypto: don't talk about your crypto.
Well, I think we just offered a challenge to the off-use statement that prostitution is the oldest profession. I don't know. Strong arm robbery might be.
Actually, I think you're right. Yeah. Go
Because
ahead.
you just think about it. Which one takes the money? One supports the other. I'll leave it at that.
Hmm.
It's both about booty.
That was good. Yeah. And you'll see this as these top cryptos start to get more and more up in price. People, like you said, dollar bill, people gonna hear about them more and more on the daily news, on the local news, on the national news. They're gonna see signs at checkouts. We accept this, we accept that, and as they put two and two together, and they just such and such coin is now $1,000. I remember such and such said he had 2,000 of them. Let's go get that money. You know, that's what these people think.
Yeah, or dudes at the strip club, and he's giving the dancer a crypto coin, and people see you making it rain cryptos in the club.
Scanning the barcode on the booty, huh?
Yeah,
A QR code.
Yeah,
right.
QR code. Yeah,
That's
that's tattooed on that booty, huh?
that's high tech.
From your watch. Yeah.
We're laughing, but I think that's what it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so, okay, so you see somebody in the club making it rain with that, and they got a lot. Of course, you see them spending that currency, so you know they got a lot of it. And yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of strong arm robbery for crypto. Like anything else, it's money.
All right, we'll get to our next article. So this one is from RT. It's about crypto paradise, blockchain city in Nevada. Play the video. So a crypto billionaire actually bought some land out in Nevada, outside of Reno, and he spent I think $170 million on it. Basically, wants to create his own blockchain city, and he's using it as a pilot to demonstrate in the United States how a true blockchain city could work, um, in conjunction with autonomous vehicles and schools and small medium businesses and things of that nature. If you're looking at the screen, then what you see is this video, this image of this high tech infrastructure from a drawing standpoint. I just want to pause it here. Uh, it's the size of an actual city, so they're talking, tens of thousands of people living here, and people having cryptocurrencies, utilizing blockchain to manage the city, um, autonomous vehicles running around. This whole and this is taking place right now as we speak. This is going into place in 2019, starting in June of 2019. This will start. So this isn't some pie in the sky vaporware where it might happen. It's just a big dream. This is something that's happening right now as we speak.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna put in some air conditioning. They're gonna need some air conditioning.
This sounds similar to that smart city where Alibaba was talking about coming in the cities and fitting them out to be smart cities. But this one is built from the ground up using blockchain to make things more efficient, even the air conditioning. Make the
Lots
air
of
conditioning
solar
more
out there.
efficient.
You talking Nevada? They got to have solar.
Yeah,
And
right, but what I think
autonomous vehicles to feed the fill up the battery
Yeah,
reserve to
autonomous
feed those autonomous vehicles.
right,
vehicles.
right, and a lot of people say, "Oh, it's $170 million. That's a lot of money. We don't have that kind of money." Actually, the black community does have that kind of money. It's sitting inside your
Mm-hmm.
churches.
And your
It's
shoes.
sitting inside your liquor stores. Right. It's sitting inside your, these beauty supply stores. That money's sitting there.
On
And
our
So it's a
feet,
matter of
we walk around in $200 sneakers
right,
without playing any sports.
right. So this is something that's happening on the ground now.
but
We talk about blockchain a lot, obviously. We talk about cryptocurrencies a lot, but there's actual people doing this right now as we speak in the United States. I think that something like this can be done in Africa at half the cost. The only reason he paid a lot here, a lot because it's in the United States. That's what the value is. You go into some parts of Africa that 2/3 of Africa is not developed or is underdeveloped. I saw a video about Central African Republic recently about how these Muslims in this village are basically taxing these vehicles that come through because basically 2/3 of the country is not governed by the government itself. It's just they don't have enough personnel to enforce it. So these villages are actually set up by some of these Muslims to um, make these 18 wheelers, these tractor trailers, pay a toll coming in, and they're paying. They have a whole tax system set up. They have a small jail set up for criminals. They have a court system set up. It's it's very archaic, but it's actually it's actually working for them. But what I'm saying here is that you have undeveloped areas in Africa that could actually be developed just like this, and at 1/3 of the cost.
Hmm.
We're talking hundreds of U.S. dollars that could be used to actually develop these areas. And the reason why I bring up the Central African Republic is because, or the Central African Republic is that that land that they were sitting on, these Muslims are sitting on, is diamonds under the ground that they're using their hands to pick it out of the ground. That's how much resources are untapped in. And the country is sitting on uranium, which is a valuable resource for energy.
That's
And
like instant wealth, man.
and
Instant.
even some of these little villages, it's not like you have to go purchase land that's not developed. Some of these villages that are near each other, they already have some type of, I say, semi infrastructure. You know, um, where you can tell it's a livable area. That you can basically take over that, roads down, power lines, lights, um, outfit the infrastructure to modern to for like a future modernization. And like you said, it still would not reach the $170 million price tag that this man paid for desert desert land. And what you're talking about, that land, that land has valuable resources under the dirt.
These Africans were digging diamonds out of the ground with their hands and shovels, taking 3 shifts. Just basically, they don't have any excavation equipment.
This is yeah, we gotta talk offline about this. Man.
Absolutely.
So wait a minute.
You heard right.
How difficult is it to buy property there? That's the question. Can a foreigner
It
like
depends
us
on.
buy property there?
Well, I think we discussed this on Monday, but I think which country was that? I know where they were putting the land trust on the blockchain. Rwanda, right?
Yeah, Rwanda. Yes, correct.
Yeah. So you really got to figure out who owns which tribe owns the stake in that area that you're going to buy it from. Because in Africa, they a lot of the policies have changed, so you can't really just buy land. But what you can do is lease it for 49 years or 99 years. That prevents monopolization from Europeans. So when
Gotcha.
it comes to black people coming from America, I think there are some stipulations that need to be worked out. But I still see what this guy did in Nevada being replicated in places like Africa. I think it can absolutely happen.
And like I mentioned, then Rwanda has a lot of arable land, a lot of farmland. The you would say the countryside of Rwanda is on par, if not better, than some of this beautiful farmland that you see in other countries. It's beautiful, and you have, like, Rwanda is close to the Central African Republic, It borders the Central African Republic. From what I, yeah, I think it does. And Central African Republic, the Congo Basin, is known to have minerals there.
Hmm.
You can do a lot of things there.
Yeah, we definitely need to have a talk offline about this. Definitely.
Hmm. Go to the next article. This one is from Crypto Briefing. Colorado has a crypto friendly governor. Jared Polis wants Colorado to be a national hub for blockchain innovation. The midterms are over, and the blue wave wasn't quite as deep as Democrats hoped. But while political squabbling has no end in sight, cryptocurrency came out several steps ahead. Blockchain-friendly candidates scored major victories in both parties. On the right, Arizona's David Shurkwit will return to his congressional seat, and Greg Abbott, whose campaign accepted Bitcoin donations, was reelected governor of Texas. But perhaps most impressive of all was the election of a progressive Democrat with the promise to turn Colorado into a center of blockchain innovation. So, blockchain is actually being used to get millennial votes into place. You put it on the ballot, it's pulling all your technocrats, technophiles all into politics now. So we're seeing this new emergence of tech talk in politics. That wasn't done before. Before, Obama was the first president to leverage social media to his advantage to win an election and to gather a constituency. Now you're starting to see blockchain, cryptocurrencies all be a part of this new discussion in political debates. So whoever can win, whoever can convince that cryptocurrencies and blockchain and things like that, autonomous vehicles, um, could be a victory for the people is actually winning the debate. So what do you guys take on this?
Yeah. Can you all hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Um. Yeah. I agree with you. You see these politicians using these technologies to propel themselves in office. The millennials are the largest generation in the country, more millennials than any other generation of age are investing in cryptocurrencies. So it resonates with us when they speak about, not only do they speak about blockchain, but in a proper way, which dictates to us that they understand what it is. And when we put them in office in these different states, they can implement ways for adoption, push for adoption of these cryptocurrencies and blockchains. And I don't know, I think it was another politician that the article stated where he accepted not blockchain, he accepted Bitcoin for his um um his for him to run for office.
Campaign contribution. Hello? Hello?
Anybody else?
I wasn't hearing anybody for a while. Okay, now I hear you. You guys hear me?
You was on mute.
Yeah, I wasn't hearing anyone. Even when I was on mute, I wasn't hearing you guys.
Oh
But
no, no,
anyway,
no.
yeah,
We weren't
I
saying
was
nothing.
saying that yeah, I think this is politically smart, politically astute to talk tech, especially in the midst of automation and these efficiencies brought about by technology that's reducing headcounts in firms or in places of employment. I think it's good to give up doses of good news about how technology can provide opportunities for people, so that it's important to have a balance that technology can take jobs away, but technology can create jobs as well.
Hmm.
And I think that's smart for politicians to campaign um, in that way.
Hmm.
Do you think this is the direction that they're gonna have to start going? Because obviously, autonomous vehicles. Again, I see China, all these breakthroughs in technology, right? And right now, these countries competing with each other. Do you think that they're gonna have to start discussing the technology? Because it's the wave of the future. So, what's your thoughts on that?
I think the people that are giving these campaign contributions, saying, "Hey, we want you to speak about this. We want you to put in policy about these, like the autonomous vehicles and so forth." People, it's not to say that politicians do not have an interest in them, but I believe it's more people that are paying these politicians to speak about and create policy about their interests, such as the autonomous vehicles, like you were saying, and blockchain, like this article was mentioning. I don't think it's just the politicians themselves saying it by themselves, and that's it. No, it's more than that.
Well, I'll say that I guess a nod to Cerulean Gray for a video that he posted this week where he's discussing the 2019 budget, and apparently technology in the form of STEM is prominent, in that budget. So that change you're talking about, Jack, I think we're here,
Mhm.
so and we talk about EDX here, and as we talked, discussed earlier, the millennials are talking about the high price of college tuition, and so if you're a politician, you're gonna have to speak the language and interests of your constituents, and people are fearing technology and embracing technology at the same time. So it's it was good to see that that the budget is recognizing STEM, you know, in 2019 budget with money going toward education for STEM.
Well, I'll push back a little bit from what Lionel was saying. I think a lot of these politicians also have nephews, or they have or nephews and nieces, or they have their own sons and daughters who are engaged in this sort of atmosphere of technical advancement, technological advancement. So it's easy for them to understand, um, from a close relative standpoint, how this can actually work to, not just from a campaign standpoint, but even from a state standpoint, how this can actually work to the advantage of the people on the ground. And you're starting to see more and more forums pop up all over the country. I think there's been several crypto summits in Florida, Puerto Rico, New York has been really big on this, and obviously Silicon Valley has been big on this as well. So the discussions are happening. It's in your face. If if you don't know what's going on, it's only because you're not woke. Um, so these politicians are seeing these use cases being presented at these events, and they're saying, "Hey, how can we use this to our advantage? How can we implement this, and how hard would it be?" And you're not looking at a whole lot of you're not looking at a long duration. You're looking at a very short duration now because there's so many other platforms already established where you can get feedback from CTOs and co-founders and CEOs, and where they can say, "Hey, we can turn this around in 90 days, 120 days." That's very short, and then you feel confident if you're a politician going into a campaign saying, "Hey, we can actually do this right now. If you elect me, I can get this done," and that's actually effective. That speaks to the base. So
Yeah, yeah. I guess I'm maybe a little more optimistic than I guess you. So you, in your view, the candidates are less authentic and more opportunistic. Is that your point?
uh, I'm saying that in order to speak to millennials, they have to speak in this language, right? And the language is actually um, the language is actually effective because it's backed by something. It's not like it's not a populist standpoint, right? It's not like, oh, well, I can reduce your student loans down to zero, and that will be the end of it. No, that you can't do that, right? That's magical thinking. But if you speak to the base by saying blockchain and cryptocurrencies, that's actionable. That's stuff that's already been done on the ground. So they're looking to connect on that level. Is what I'm saying.
Right, and it helps that in the budget, 2019 budget, as I understand, according to Cerulli, and this trillions, trillions of dollars in there that's STEM related, and they discuss things like artificial intelligence and robotics. So
That's DARPA. That's DARPA. That's Boston Dynamics. That's iRobot. That's all those companies. That's Lockheed. STEM is where you're lacking in America in comparison to Russia and China and India, right? China graduates 2 million engineers, STEM graduates a year. We only doing less than 100,000, if that. Can't compete.
Hmm.
so you're saying we're late. The government should have done this earlier. Is that kind of what is that what I'm hearing you saying?
Government can't compete. There's no way for them to compete. If
But
you
in
have,
our race, in
they
the
can.
government's race to catch up, that's our opportunity for
Right.
everyone.
It could
Right,
be opportunity if you could do something about student loans and tuitions, right?
right, correct,
I'm
correct.
sorry. On a side note, I was watching this. I think it's a CIE, I guess, convention they had in China, and the stuff they're creating is crazy. I saw they made a fish tank it was a fish tank slash a television. It was a 4K no, it was a 5K TV television, and when you turn TV off, it's a fish tank right behind it. Like it was that thin. And I'm like, how they're doing this stuff?
Takes a
So
lot of
yeah,
research. Yeah, it takes a lot of research. Your universities are doing a lot of research. So let me get to the next article. I know you're gonna have to mute yourself. All right, this next video is from CGTN. It's about the African Investment Forum. The event promotes collaboration between public and private sector. So, play the video. What's happening now on the ground in Africa is that the African governments are actually partnering with private private businesses to help develop Africa, and they're looking for just about everything STEM, just about everything that's connected to social media, um, manufacturing of smartphones and tablets and computers now is now happening on the ground in Africa, and the governments are looking to pair up to help um, advance their society. And there's actually a AAIB, which is an African, I think it's an African investment bank from the BRICS that's actually helping to spur a lot of this growth. And I think that this this is a perfect opportunity for us, people who are on the brain trust, as well as Black people, especially Black men, to actually get into Africa and start pushing these opportunities to your advantage. All types of businesses need to be developed over there in Africa. Do you gentlemen have anything you want to contribute to this, even if you haven't seen the video?
Explain again. You said it's what's the initiative again? The collaboration between what's the
Government and
parties?
private business.
Government and private business. Okay. Okay. Um,
The government is looking to leverage private businesses to help advance their society, so they're looking to invest into these private businesses.
not having not seen the video, but hey, when you get government and business on the same page, I mean, how can they lose? They have to. Who's in opposition? You know, most of the time business and government is not on the same page. But so I think that just promises that we're going to see some progress. Some great progress. And Africa, needs a lot on. They need large and small. They need high tech and low tech. They need you got parts of the country, some countries have a larger educated population than others. Education is not uh, easily accessible, and technology. I think is gonna, I'm impressed with like the, I guess, smaller accomplishments. Technology will make it easier for more people to get education. You know, so I'm encouraged by that. I mean, that's going to be the masses. I mean, we're going to drive a wedge between this relationship between education and wealth. Poorer people will be able to get a greater amount of knowledge and education. And I think in the end, the great impact, a great growth of the continent is going to come from efforts to uh, educate the masses. Technology can do that, and when you put business and government together, I think that's an easy goal, something that's doable.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you, Dollar. Again, to seeing that, what the article explains, again, Africa is literally opening the doors up to, I think, especially to the world, but also to, especially to African Americans and the Black community here in the U.S. Right? You know, they're telling you, hey, we're willing to work with you, but I think um, it's not really advertised unless you really know you're in that circle. You're abreast of kind of what's going on. But again, like I think what I'm trying to position myself, and I think what the future is going to be is more in these applications. It's going to be there's going to be a tech boom in Africa. I think within this 20 years, there's going to be a tech boom, especially just with all this new technology that's going to be emerging, that is emerging right now. So again, it's a perfect opportunity for people to really position themselves for success and uh, and take captive of these viable opportunities because there's so many ways to make making money right now, especially in the tech world, especially with the phones. Um, but again, but back to the article, I think they're opening the doors and they're literally putting out their hands to you like, hey, we got you. So like let's work together. So it's about people who have the right mindset, who set the right priorities, who's gonna get these things done. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, and again, I want to let me swing the bat one more time. In America, I think a lot of times we look at it as what growth in Africa can mean for us. I think the greatest benefactors is going to be the young Africans themselves. Africans are young; they have a very large young population, and so that's a lot of energetic people that can. They're in a country where resources are inexpensive. So I'm curious to see what type of products and services that Africans can create to sell to the more developed world. So
That's
it's
been a big discussion the last. Yeah, that's been a big discussion the last year and a half. Of actually Africans manufacturing their own goods and putting a label that says "Made in Africa" on the back of it.
awesome. That would do my Pan Africanist heart proud. I think psychologically that would blow our mind, man. That black folks
I would like,
throughout the diaspora to buy some product that was well made, and it said made in Africa, and man, that's revolutionary right there.
I got some desert boots that were made in Africa as well. I forget the guy's name who designed them right now, but um, I still have them. I have a couple pairs of them. They're still holding up pretty well, and you can wear them with no socks. That's where they were designed. They're boots that can be worn with no socks, basically. Um,
Wow.
but I would like to go one step further and say that I would like to see black people in America design something that says "designed by African Americans."
Mm,
Put a
that's
label on the
interesting. I
back
never thought
that
Awesome.
way.
about that.
Awesome.
I
Yes.
never thought about that before. That's
Awesome.
creative and that's genius. I like that.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then you'd have some made by Afro Caribbean.
Yeah. I like that. I
Well,
like
they
That
that.
would
don't identify themselves as that, right? But politically speaking, the correct term for black people in America would be African American. And having a if you can have a laser etched um insignia on the back that says "designed by African Americans," that's that's monumental. That's like putting a man on the moon.
yeah. Oh yeah. Man, can you imagine how much we would do to combat the negative image of Africans and blacks for several hundred years. Something like that would really set that in reverse. We could heal. We could really repair a lot of psychological damage can be repaired by something like that. Wow.
Exactly, indeed. Let me get to this one last article. All right, this one is from CGTN. China is expected to triple mobile payment transactions in 2021. Right now, 99% of Chinese millennials don't use cash. They actually use their phones to pay for everything and their smartwatches to pay for everything. As you can see in this video right here, they're using an iPhone. And this is in the trillions of dollars for projection. So this past year was 295 trillion, and it's expected to go up to 793 trillion by 2021, by the next presidential election. And that's 90% greater than what the United States does in transactions. that tells you the financial power of China in itself. WeChat. I think I'll go back and pull that up. So WeChat actually makes up 39% of the base, and Alipay actually makes up 53%. So 2/3 of their mobile payment transactions are actually coming from these online, not these online, but these smartphone app based payment systems. In Kenya, for example, we just read an article earlier about cryptos in Africa. In Kenya, in particular, they actually have something called the M-Pesa that's similar to WeChat. So that shows you the technological development happening in China and outside of China in terms of mobile payments. In America, we have very few. I think it's only like maybe 1% of your actual payments are actually done through mobile phone, mobile smartwatch transactions. So $793 trillion expected.
So, okay. So obviously they're letting you know this is gonna be the future, right? So seeing these numbers, that's unheard of. I never. What's after a trillionaire? Like $1 trillion, or what's after that? Like once you get to
We'll invent it.
yeah, I guess, but yeah, but I guess it's really where the
Trillion.
economy
I
is
think
going,
after
man.
a
Is with this
trillion. I think after a trillion, it's a zillion, right?
In theory.
Yeah, I think it's a zillion.
I mean, does a zillion anything exist?
In computer technology, it does.
Oh,
I think
okay.
like a petabyte or something like that. A petabyte or something like that would be like a zillion.
Okay. I knew you'd know the answer.
Mm-hmm. Kiriaki Jones, what's going on, brother? Oh, he says it's quadrillion. Quadrillion.
Quadrillion. Okay, yeah, okay. Okay. Anybody out there in the chat want to hop on? Put your email in the chat and get on the panel. Hop on. And I want to thank everybody out there for getting us over 400 subscribers. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. I got one more article to go through. Let me just rush through this.
It's got one more article, but we're going to have an open mic. So if you want to get on, put that name in the chat. Hop on. Chop it up with us. All of us are the Brain Trust. You too out there. Get on.
So this last article is by CNBC.com. Sears to shut 40 more stores early next year. Sears is planning to shut down 40 more stores next year. This will be in addition to the 142 unprofitable stores the department store chain is already expected to close towards the end of 2018. Liquidation sales at the 40 locations announced Thursday set to begin late next week. Here's a picture. You can see what old Sears logo was on the front. Sears Holdings said Thursday it plans to close 40 more stores early next year as it continues to slim its business and seeks to stymie losses under bankruptcy protection. The retailer filed for bankruptcy on October 15th for roughly 700 Sears and Kmart stores in operation. It announced at the time it would be closing 142 unprofitable stores and warned more closures could follow. The additional store closures come as Sears is still looking to formally secure the money it needs to stay in operation long enough until it can find a potential buyer to avoid liquidation. It had interim approval for $300 million in emergency financing and was in talks with hedge fund ESO Investments for another $300 million loan, according to bankruptcy filings. So Sears is bleeding really, really bad. They're hemorrhaging. Let me drop the link in the chat. Yeah, they're hemorrhaging. Dollar Will, you have anything you want to add to this?
Die already. I mean, why is it still around? And who would buy? Where they think they're going to get a buyer? Who would buy? Why would someone buy a brand that it has no value really associated with that brand name? I mean, why not just let it die and come in and buy the hard assets of it and put a new name? Why would anyone want to be associated with the Sears legacy? Outside of what Kenmore, what else? What you gonna miss about Craftsman and Kenmore? When I think Sears, I think Craftsman, tools and Kenmore. Now, all the Kenmore products I've ever purchased were amazing, awesome. Other than that, what are you gonna miss? When's the last time you've been to a Sears? In a year, how often do you go? You're talking about homeowners. Sears was the Home Depot before Home Depot. When you bought a house, you were in Sears all the time. Now, what do? We go to Home Depot, Lowe's, and Walmart, and we drive past the Sears on the way to those places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and actually, Sears. There was an article not too long ago that says that Sears was the Amazon of the 1800s.
Yeah, the Sears home, the Craftsman home. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I drove by a couple of Sears that were actually closed recently, this week alone, and a lot of these places have been so liquidated. They sold the countertops. So
Right.
what I'm
I mean,
thinking here is
it's cheaper. It's cheaper to just wait and let it die and buy whatever's left there. Why would anybody pay for it now?
that I'm assuming there must be some patents in place that they do have. I mean, Discover is actually a byproduct of Sears itself. So the Discover cards actually pretty unique to the brand.
Okay.
Um, they must have some specific patents in place that companies may want. Um, that's the only thing I could think of. I know Craftsman has already been sold to China.
Oh,
Um,
okay. I didn't know that. Okay.
yeah, Kenmore was sold recently for less than $300 million, I think. So the Kenmore brand has been sold.
Wow. Okay. So one like Visa or Mastercard can step in and buy the Discover card, and what's left? Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
it seems so. Whatever money they were missing before, I'm pretty sure they made it back through selling Kenmore and Craftsman brands. I mean, Craftsman once they started making Craftsman tools inside China, it was game over anyways.
Right. It's like when you say Sears to me, I think they're still here.
Yeah.
Die already.
Well,
It's like when they
they were
die,
pretty.
we won't even be sad. There won't be a party. There won't be no nostalgia talk. We'll just go to Amazon and get what we want.
Well, don't forget that they were pretty good with the Sears Auto Center, right? So you pulled in there, you got your car, you got your oil changed while you went shopping, and then you came back out and it was good. Got your tires rotated, and they provided their services.
If you really think about it, unfortunately, what is Walmart but a better Sears?
Hmm.
I mean, Sears is Walmart without the food, but not
Well,
as
Sears
good
does
of an
have.
experience. And what I don't know what it is. How is it that Walmart is like crowded all the time? And people are in the electronic section. They're all throughout Walmart, not just the food stuff. But
Hmm.
Sears is a ghost town. In
Hmm.
the minds of the
Well,
American consumer, Sears is already dead.
Well, I think the difference between when you say that the difference is food, uh, Sears has Kmart for that reason, right? So Kmart does sell food, so that's their fallback, I guess. But both are dying breeds that had to merge in order to consolidate their resources and their capabilities.
Do you really feel good about buying a product from a store you don't know if they're going to be around in 6 months or a year? What's that warranty really mean to you? They need to just
Well, they
die.
have to honor it. Well, they have to honor it by law. So
But if the store isn't around, how do they honor it?
they still have service centers.
In the back of the store. So you're saying that the store can close, but the service centers can still be around.
Yeah, absolutely. They still have to liquidate all this. A lot of those stoves and whatnot still have to be sold. If you look on um, their Sears outlet, um, what you what you're going to see is a lot of stoves and refrigerators going for half price, basically, still under warranty from the manufacturer.
I think what we're going to see is a Sears section on a Walmart, on an Amazon page.
Well, they have it. They have that on eBay. If you go on eBay, there's a Sears section. So Sears has a section on eBay that they partner with eBay on, and they've had that for years.
Now now here's the strange thing. I I I I I, I do see some value in Sears hanging around as an online presence
Hmm.
because they have a reputation for making quality products. I would buy a product from a Sears website. I would do that, and I would place more confidence in buying a product from a Sears website than a lot of other websites, like these unknown people who are selling things on Amazon. I can see myself going to Sears instead.
Hmm. See, I'm looking at it from a perspective of how would I take advantage of the dinosaur that's dying? Because there's a lot of real estate space that is underutilized now because the store is gone.
Yeah, well, look, well,
You're
the
talking
malls have left the same space. So what are we going to do with the space left by Sears in these malls?
turn it into condos.
Hmm.
That's something we could talk about offline.
Yeah, yeah. I'm no,
Um,
I'm thinking. No, no, I'm thinking about that. What's racing through my mind is okay. We're in an economic. We're heading into a downturn. All right, so real estate is going to be rough. It's going to be stagnant. The foreclosure rate is going to go up. In the down economy, commercial vacancies in commercial real estate that increases too because the economy is slower. Uh, we don't really have. Do we really have a need for more condos at this point?
I would say yes. I would say you need a lot of living space. People are upside down in their mortgages, can't find a place to stay, can't afford the rent. Rent's too damn high. I can see this working out.
Hmm. Let's think about it. We'll kick it around some more. We'll
Uh,
future shows. We're gonna explore this more. We're gonna throw some data at it. Really look and see. Yeah, Jack. What do you tell us something about? Um, the housing market in terms of the availability of real of homes. What's the home inventory situation? Do we have enough inventory for uh, people with the means to buy?
well, again, like um, the 40 market is pretty much. just dried up. There's nothing right now because markets are, especially in the under 500 range or not 500 range. I'm sorry, 350 range are kind of dried up because prices are overpriced. Right, homes are overpriced. So the data always shows that after every downturn, um, foreclosures goes up, but rent goes up higher because a lot of people leave their home and they need to rent. So the rent's gonna go up, and rent is already higher right now as it is. So yeah, it could work if you were to price it correctly and make it affordable. The price point affordable for people who can afford to live there. People will be lined up in droves just to go live there if they could because um, if you notice, right, a lot of apartment complexes are being built. Uh, Apartment condos, condominiums are being built right now. So they're preparing. They know what's going to come, so they're preparing for this. But a lot of people are going to rent. You know,
So,
after
let me
downturn,
see if
prices
I let me
will go
see if,
up.
let me see if I let me ask you a question. See if I understand you. So you're saying that you think that people may move from single family homes and townhomes and go into apartments, and we may not have enough apartment inventory. Is that
Yeah,
what you're saying?
yeah, I think so. Yeah, because
Okay.
then another thing I understand too is that the data shows that when the last downturn, the rent went up exponentially higher. So it's gonna go up again. And then that's what I'm saying. If you price it correctly, people will be lined up to move there because that's all they can afford.
Okay. Well,
and,
let's
and that's
make
a million. It's a 1.5 million square feet of space that those stores are using.
wow. Okay. Well, we're gonna put that on the radar here, and we're gonna be on the lookout for data that might suggest that if we're moving in this direction, everything from the apartment inventory, the foreclosure rate, increase in the foreclosure rate. Um,
Mhm.
we'll see, and what happens to the Sears stores and already sold, and these vacant malls already sold. So we'll track this as we go.
We actually covered this in the summer, Dollar. I don't know if you was around, but on one of the hangouts we covered this that there was a mall over in outside of DC, not outside of DC, up in Pennsylvania that sold for that it was 100. I mean not 100, but 1 million plus square feet of space for a plaza mall that actually sold for $100 on the books.
Wow. No, I didn't hear that. I missed that. Wow.
Yeah, we covered that like I think like in July or something like that.
Wow.
It
That's
wasn't that long
incredible.
ago. It was only like a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago that it sold. It hit rock bottom. I mean, obviously you're gonna have to pay the back taxes on it, but at $100 you can't beat that.
Right. Right. You gotta probably get some nice investors to come in and help you renovate that or convert it to whatever. But at
Not
$100,
necessarily.
oh
Not
man,
necessarily. You would have black go hire some black men and say, gut it, order some dumpsters, order about 10 dumpsters or so, gut that sucker.
That
well,
could
it's a
work.
lot you can do if your acquisition cost is $100.
Yeah.
Mm.
you know,
You buy, yeah, you buy him a 6 pack with some wing dings and fries.
the mambo sauce, chicken wings with the mambo sauce, that'll work.
No, but that's all labor. That's really all it is. Your first phase, and maybe Jack can speak to this. Your first phase is going to be all labor. Go in there and knock that sucker down. You need some manpower.
And that's cheap. That's not expensive to do a demo. Demo's like you can get that. You can get certain people to do it that'll knock that out in time for a little bit of money. So
Hmm.
it's true.
Wow.
But well, even I noticed in like in South Florida, right? I noticed that, and this is a trend. Like I noticed like a lot of rundown, abandoned apartment complexes all starting to get worked on, and they start work on them, and they're fixing them up, and they're like they're setting up, man. They're setting this up. I'm like, why are they doing that now? Why? It's been set up all this time, but now this is happening, right? They people know what's up. So
Hmm.
yeah, I have also have family members, not family members, but yeah, family members. You know, they got into certain loans, and then they still got adjustable rate, and now the rates are going up higher, and they're getting killed right now, right? And these are people who worked, have professional jobs, and looking for second jobs now. So it's starting to happen, man. It's starting to happen.
Mike, anti gravity in the chat says, if I'm reading this right, the Sears near him says all sales are final. So there goes your service center for the warranty. They getting out of there.
Hmm.
So turn out the lights.
Oh, same thing with I should have probably brought this up during the docket, but Papa Gino's and um what's the other one? D'Angelo's. Suddenly, all these stores just closed overnight this week. 1,000. What is it? Like 1,000 shops? 100 shops or something to that effect? Just closed up.
Wow. Wow.
They didn't even take the juices out of the fridge or nothing like that. Left the bread and everything in there.
Look, I'm telling you, when the economy, when big businesses, when they see the economy is turning, they don't hesitate to cut their losses. They know what's coming. They get out early. They
Hmm.
shut it down, and they save whatever money they can, write those losses off, and they just brace themselves and try to stay fat with cash. And when we until we get at the bottom end of the cycle, then they come back in.
Let me ask you a question, right? Um, we had the recession, you know, 10 years ago, right? I mean, the housing market, the bubble popped 10 years ago, but how bad do you think it's gonna be, man? Like, I know we had times like this before. Not maybe not up to this magnitude, but how bad do you think it's gonna be?
Uh I at least as bad as what we've known before. But maybe I you know what I think that people are bracing for it. So in that sense, I think it may not be as it's going to be bad, but it may not be as bad as we think because there's so much talk about it. In 2008, when that 2007, when that decline happened, there wasn't a lot as much talk about it as you see right now. So the shock value is not going to be as great because people are already expecting it to be bad.
Hmm.
So I think that's a positive that you may not see mass hysteria. People know, okay, well, the economy's slowing down. It is what it is, and they've heard it, so much talk about it. I think people are just gonna combine their resources and not buy frivolous things and roll with the punches. Part of the benefit. That's part of the benefit of having social media and YouTube and Facebook. It's just people are just so much better informed than we were back then. So mostly, I mean, it's mostly it's like anything else. Is how you prepare for it psychologically. You know, it's mostly a bunch of emotion. You know, but the simple things you need to do to survive, we have everything we need to do that. You know? So
Mhm.
it's going to be bad. We're going to have layoffs and all that stuff. So what? Your cousin is going to come live with you. You know, some people are going to move in with their in-laws, and we're going to make it. And it's only going to last for maybe 2 or 3 years, and then it'll be over. And we'll enter a growth phase, and we'll go from we'll have a spirit of optimism. We'll survive it like other things. But it will be bad. But I think we're more informed, so it won't have us an air of desperation. I don't think it will.
Yeah, multi generational living seems to be the new norm now since 2008. So
Right. So that's so yeah, that cultural barrier has been we've leaped that hurdle. So it's not a big shame to go back home, move back home.
hmm right, and you start to see a lot more innovative things come out of these downturns because Jack and I talked about this about tiny homes, being the new norm now. Like that's just normal for women to go buy a tiny house.
Okay, where are these tiny houses? I don't see them outside of magazines and websites. Where are they?
Well, Amazon is actually starting to ship those. You can order one right off of Amazon now, and they'll drop it off to your house.
Okay, it's like a big dog house. What, where, where where are people? Where in America are people? I mean, are any? If you're in the chat, do you know anybody near you? Is there anybody near you living in tiny homes? Don't be talking about them
The
old
problem,
shotgun homes from way back in the day. We're not talking about that.
yeah, but the problem is that when you ask that question, it's more about the zoning laws and everything else that come into place, right? So if you have um, if you have a city that's frowning their face at the development aspect of a tiny house, then yeah, you're going to see less and less of them. But from the articles I've been sending to Jack and Young Grizzly, those things seem to be very, very popular on YouTube. People are actually
Yeah,
living in them, and I think the average the average stay is anywhere between 3.5 to 5 years. I think people save up enough money once they get into these little houses, um, and then they move on. I mean, especially if you're talking about building a family. So
yeah. I just like to know where they are. They're not like in New York, Chicago,
no,
L.A., D.C.,
zoning laws
Atlanta.
no zoning laws prevent them from being in those areas. But if you go places like Texas and Arizona and those and the alike, they are there. So
Yeah. Another problem with tiny homes is we don't have tiny people. you
well,
I
if you're a
agree.
woman, if you're a woman, that works.
Yeah.
say what? Say what, Mike?
If you're a woman, that works.
It
There's a
depends
black
on.
woman on YouTube, man, who has a real nice one, man. She's living comfy, and
Well, she must be a tiny woman. Not all women are tiny.
Mm. I seen it. We seen
I've
a
been in one
video.
before.
You been you been in
Go ahead,
one?
Jack.
You
Yeah,
didn't
I've been
feel
in one before. They
claustrophobic?
actually did a tour. No, they did a tour around the city because the city was actually debating about letting these tiny houses be developed and where were they going to be put at. So because there's a lot of vacant parcels around, they're not bad at all. They're actually like just a small apartment on wheels.
Okay, so it's got wheels. So it's a tiny mobile home.
It has to have wheels in order to be certified that it's not a stationary product, right? So if it's stationary, then it has to abide by the zoning laws for housing. But if it has wheels on it, then it's DOT certified then it's not classified as a stationary house. So therefore, you're not paying property tax and things of that nature. So there's a lot of red tape involved that helps define what a real tiny house is.
Okay. So I can just push my house on up the street. Okay. Got it.
That's funny.
Well, you would have to hook up to a sewage line, right? You would have to hook up to all the city utilities and things of that nature. That's why it's hard. It's hard to really get a grasp on where they are because most cities won't allow them in. But I suspect that has to do with if you can get a tiny house for $20,000, you don't have to pay $500,000 for a condo. People are gonna go buy those, crash the market.
Well, the first thing I do is I wouldn't call it a tiny house. I would have to come up with another name for it. I don't know.
They used to call micro homes.
Okay, that sounds better than tiny house. You know.
What were you gonna say, Jack? Go ahead.
No, but some people go. Remember that article you sent? Some people go to the extreme of living. They turn their own vehicle into a tiny home, like that van. And it's these people going. They ain't creative with it, but I think the way is gonna be container homes. That's gonna be the um that's what's gonna do it. And especially where you have the homeless problem in America. There's no the affordable market is dried up. Like that's a great opportunity. And if you get it subsidized or get a grant through the government, and you to solve a problem, I'm sure it's
Well,
profitable.
I do like that. I have seen those videos on the container homes, man. They can take like 2 or 3 containers and put them together. Now that's awesome. I've seen those videos and I've said, yeah, I could live in that.
I don't see what's the difference.
Because one is tiny and the other one,
Yeah,
those
but
container homes are
tiny
not
house.
tiny.
Yeah, but a tiny house and a container home is virtually the same square footage.
Nah, I've seen them tiny homes, man. I'm not talking about one container. I wouldn't live in one container. A tiny house seem to be smaller than one container. But those container properties, there's multiple containers. That could be a container home. To say something is a container home, it says nothing about the size of it. A container home can be as big or as small as you want, just by stacking them,
right,
connecting them.
Right, and the only thing you have to worry about with a shipping container is that you have to worry about what was inside of it before.
Why?
Because a lot of them ship nuclear waste.
Gotcha.
They think you jamming up in there, and nothing you know, a couple of years later, you hurled on the ground. You hurled on the ground because you didn't do your research on where that shipping container came from.
Right.
So it came with your own Geiger. It's cheap to go get yourself a Geiger counter and just kind of walk into one of those just to see, what the ratings are. So
see if it glows in the dark.
Mm-hmm. But your skin is melanated, so that shouldn't affect you immediately.
So it's a freestyle, right? When it comes to the elections and how much do you think this is going to affect the economics, the economy? This with the Democrats, controlling the House and Republicans in the Senate. Like, what do you think is going to affect the economy? How do you think it's going to change things? Do you think it will change things? What's you guys' thoughts?
I think you're going to see a downturn regardless of who's in power. We're long overdue according to the charts. That wave goes every 9.5 to 10 years, and we're just about due. So from 2008.
I agree. He hit it. He hit it right on it. I don't think it matters.
Mhm.
We're going to be in
It's all that
survival
motherfucker.
mode. And the good thing, I mean, the thing about this country is, whenever we get in survival mode, we seem to be able to put minor crap aside. And I'm still optimistic that if we get into, or not if, or when this downturn really starts picking up, um, the kinds of changes we need to come up with to offer some remedies for people in crisis. I just don't believe that we're going to be and have such gridlock that will stop us from threatening the country, basically the stability of the country, because just because we are fighting over over partisan fighting. I can't. I don't believe that. It takes a real crisis to unite us. That's what I'm trying to say. And this, I think,
Mhm.
this downturn will be enough of a stimulus to cause us to fight for survival.
And
Because
you dollar.
I'm sorry. Because I think the apathy will be left. The reason why I believe that is because in crisis, the people pay attention to politics more. And we usually get screwed over when we're fat and happy and comfortable and we're not paying attention. That's when we usually get exploited. But in crisis, we look to government and our leaders to show up and serve. And we hold them accountable in those times. So I don't think it matters who's in office. I think the people will hold government accountable.
And looking at the charts, I know Dollar, you're a trader. What I know you guys are not financial planners or financial advisors or whatnot, but looking at the charts and as from a standpoint of a trader, what indicators do you see from your indicators and your skill, right? Your skills that indicates, okay, this is gonna come this off the charts.
Wow, I apologize, everybody. I'm still having computer problems. Let's see. If one thing that I see is, I tell you what. Let's Mike, can you go to barchart.com? This is not like a chart really that got a point and stuff. It's a more of a text section. So I'm hoping I can.
What am I looking for?
You're gonna just go there, get there first. Go to barcharts.com, and then we're gonna look, and then you're gonna click. When you get there, you're gonna click on the tab across the top that says stocks, and I'm trying to see. Then you're gonna there's a sub menu called sectors, so I want you to click on that. So it should be click on stocks, and then look, and then there should be a menu is gonna drop down. You're gonna look for sectors. It should be in the middle area of that
I
drop
found it.
down. And click on that. What I'm looking for is I believe they have a comparison of the different economic sectors, and you'll see the sector called consumer staples. They have like a little look back where they kind of tell you how it's been doing the last like compared to like the 200-day moving average, 100-day moving average, and so on. And that data shows that the sector rotation is already happening. That so when the economy is slowing down, people move their money away from the big sexy things like Apple and rest of technology. Okay, they get out of that and they move their money to boring things that we need, like food, you know, some of those like cleaning supplies. Uh, there's one company I was looking at called Church and Dwight. That's the company that makes Arm and Hammer, baking soda, just boring stuff like that. Let's see. In this, I can't. see on my page. And you click
So what I'm
on,
looking at in sectors,
yeah,
it says major market sectors,
you
industry rankings.
click on major market sectors.
All right, find a symbol.
No, you know what. Yeah. Do that. Click it. I'm gonna see what I'm looking for. Some kind of comparison of the various. Yeah, scroll. There you go. Scroll up. Scroll there. And my I'm trying this. So that's just for today. Okay. I'm looking on this tiny eye. On a tiny eye. Now that category. Okay. In that top of that list you're looking at. Scroll back up to the top of that list, and you should see it say. Does it say? Scroll down. Scroll up higher. Up higher. Does it say? Like stop right there. It says today. See where it says today? Oh, come over here. Yeah. Click and you want to pick let's see, I'm thinking, I hope my thing isn't lagging so we're talking about the same thing. No, see where it says stock sector. No, I want you to go back. I don't want intraday. I want you, I want, maybe I can still get it there. No, go back, hit the back button. I want you to go back to the page you were just on before this. No, back. Go to that page you were on before that. Okay. All right. Now, you see where it says stocks sector, and then you scroll down. I want you to uh, scroll back up to the top because it said today. I'm trying to get you to click that drop down box. We can pick something broader than today. Just scroll back. You scroll down too far. I don't see it on my screen. There you stop. You see where it says stock sector. I cannot read what the heck that is. And then it says below that it says today, and there's a little box you can click that drop down list.
Okay.
You click that and select something for a broader time period, not just today. It says stock sector finder. There you go. There's come on down. Let's say a year. Let's look at a year or year to date would work too. Year to date. Let's go with year to date. Year to date. So that's going to be from January. Uh, and does that 6 months or what does that say? I want you to pick year to date. There you go.
It's year to date.
That's the one. That's it. Now year to date is going to be the year starting in January 1 to date to today's date. And so you can see on this graphic where how the performance is going. And looking, what do you see at the top? I really can't see it, y'all. But what's that? What's the top performers in the green there?
S&P 500.
Okay, and that's what is that? Healthcare,
Yes.
and then that below that, what's the next one?
Consumer discretionary
Okay,
500.
so discretionary. That's uh let's see, I get it. Discretionary is let's see. Non-discretionary is what things you need. I mean things that are vital to you. Discretionary is stuff you can
Mm-hmm.
do without. Okay, so that's seems to be doing pretty well. So that's what's below that. Information technology. Okay, so
Information
I
technology.
I think what we're looking at here is the run up in the market since January. Now over time, like if you let's try a different time frame and let's look at it. Let's go down to like 3 months or 1 month or 3 months. Let's go with 3 months. 1 month is too short. Let's look at 3 months instead of year to date. Select like 3 months. So so this is kind of how I take a glance at where the money is moving from and to. So we know that technology and that discretionary section, that's your retail stores, we know that they are going to get hit hard. And so over time, you're going to see those values or those performance figures start going down. And the ones at the bottom of the list in the red are going to flip. So the stuff at the bottom is going to end up at the top. Okay. All right.
Mhm.
So now we got our consumer staples. Okay. See, now there you go. You don't see technology there. So when we look at year to date, we saw technology. Now when we look at it in just the last 3 month view, we see staples. And if you click on consumer staples, click on that, and it's going to give you a sense of. You'll see the types of companies in there. Click on consumer staples. You see, I'm sorry, my stuff is lagging. So if I'm telling you to do something you've already done, just know that that's what it is. So you can scroll down and you can now you see those numbers. It's showing you how it's changing over time. So you can see how strength is growing over all those moving averages. You don't see any of it red. It's green. That's where the money is going. So, that's just fact. It's boring stuff. Now, if you scroll down more, you'll see what types of companies are in the consumer staple sector. And in this downturn, this is the area where you want to be investing. You're going to see stuff like automotive stores and stuff like that because when the economy is weak, people don't take their cars to mechanics. They start fixing it themselves. So you end up at the auto parts store buying parts yourself. Driveway mechanics come out of the woodwork. And these are the kinds of stores that you can invest in. Now, if you see something you want to know what it is, you click on it, and then over here on the left spine, under the company, you'll see something that says profile. You click on profile, it'll tell you what that company, what they do, and what products they make. So, because some of these names don't jump out to you as to what they are, but when you click on it and then go to the far left and click profile, you'll read in plain English, what the product is that you see on the shelf when you go in the store. Then you go, oh, okay, that's what they make. So just looking
Yeah.
at this list and consumer staples, uh, what does I see? I see grocery stores, right? See, my eyesight is gone. I see grocery
Yeah.
stores. Uh, you
All your
know,
cosmetic products,
yeah.
all your household products, Costco, not Costco, Clorox and Colgate, Palmolive,
So
General Mills.
one thing that the staple sector have in common is they're staples, meaning you need these products no matter what the economy is doing. You just got to have this stuff. And so when the sexy sectors like technology, when the high flyers like those stocks, when they run up to the point where they need to correct, money rotates to this boring section here called consumer staples of stuff you gotta have, and then these things start performing like tech stocks. In a downturn, these become the new tech stocks. And then when the tech stocks bottom out, they run from this stuff like this a house on fire, and they go buy Apple and Netflix and Facebook and Google and Broadcom and your networking stocks. All so tech becomes in fashion again. So sector rotation. That's the short answer, Jack. Everybody that hangs out here on the Black Brain Trust, we're gonna talk about this sector rotation as we go. So you will never be at a loss as to where you should be investing. You're going to be investing right here in these staples. You're going to be picking some of these companies, or the way I do it, I buy ETFs, and there are ETFs that concentrate on this section because I like to buy one symbol that might hold 20 or so of these companies because I this is just me. I don't care to know if the CFO stole money or there's a class action lawsuit against the company. I ain't got time for that. When you buy individual companies, the managers being responsible, or not, that directly affects your stock price. But if you buy a big basket like an ETF or a mutual fund, you don't have that issue. So, but that's a style, that's a personal taste thing. I just don't. Again, I'm a technical trader. I don't have time to be doing fundamental analysis like that. And so my way around it is I pick an industry or a sector and I get an ETF that focuses on that. And I don't need to know the details of how that company is performing because I own a whole basket and not just one.
That's it's really smart, man, and that's some great information right there. I never thought about going that route, look at it like that. So yeah, Dollar, I see why they call you Dollar, man.
Yeah, hey, the dollar keeps you connected to the macro
Hmm.
trend, and so that's why whenever I'm teaching people, the first thing people always want to ask is, "What should I invest in?" I'm like, "Well, that's the easy part, actually. The hard part is knowing how to read the chart to know when. Knowing when to buy and sell is harder than knowing what to buy and sell. So don't worry about what to buy. Learn when. That's the issue. That's what's gonna make or break you. You know, because when this market comes down, and if you're a chart reader, you'll have the courage to step up and buy AMD. If AMD goes down to $5 again, you'll have the courage to buy it because you'll know that
Hmm.
that stock price of AMD at $5, that's not a reflection on that company. That it costs $5 because of some macroeconomic issues. It's got nothing to do with the value. That it may not have anything to do with the value of that company because if you look at that industry, all of the semiconductor companies will be in the same boat. They all will have had a massive stock price depreciation. So reading the charts allow and having a industry view of the market, looking at how the entire industry and sector is affected, that lets me know that that bad news is industry related and not company related.
Hmm.
And so that allows me to come in because the problem we make, see, we are comfortable buying stuff when it has already risen a great deal. We like buying stuff that's already expensive. But and then so when prices run up high, we're slow to sell. We hold on and then we take the fall. And then when the stock price is in the toilet, we're slow to pull the trigger. Why? you, it's all. I mean, the destruction already happened. We're like totally willing to buy and hold at the top of the market, but when we're at the bottom of the market, we're not equally willing to buy and hold. Now, when I say buy and hold, I'm not saying hold on while the thing is falling. I absolutely think that's the most ridiculous thing anybody could do. Do not hodl. So don't confuse me when I say buy and hold. And I'm telling people to hodl. No, I'm absolutely against that. I don't care if we talk in stock or cryptocurrency. I'm absolutely against hodling. Okay, no. The only time you should hodl is if the price is going sideways or up. You should not hodl while the price is going down. And when people say to you, well, you shouldn't get out the market because nobody can predict the market. Well, that's somebody who doesn't know technical analysis. No technical analysis person will ever say anything like that. There's too many people, millions of people all over the world that trade charts technically for you to believe that when people say you can't tell when the market is turning. Yes, you can. Can you tell exactly? No. And we never said we could pick the exact top. We could tell you when the trend is going down, and sideways and up. That's all you need to know. If you get out of the market, say in the top 10% of the price or 20% of the price even, and we could do better than that. But let's just say within the top 20% of the market peak, you get out and you miss. And when price drops, 70-80%, you got out of it. You missed. So you said, okay, so instead of you losing 70-80% you only lost 20%. In fact, you made that back because you rotated to the consumer staple section. So now when Amazon is $5 again, you sitting on a stack of money that you made in the consumer sector, in the consumer staple sector, and now you rotate back and buy your Netflix and Google and Amazon and Apple when you got a lot of money to throw at it. So that's my philosophy of how you supposed to be trading, investing. I use those two words interchangeable. People like to say, I'm an investor. I'm not a trader. I don't go in and out of the market. I'm a long-term investor. And you ask them, what does that mean, long-term? What is your definition of long-term? They don't have one. A lot of people say they're a long-term investor to disguise the fact that they're losing. Nobody plans to lose. Don't lie to yourself. Don't call yourself a long-term investor because you made a trading mistake. If you thought that thing was going up and it started falling, don't lie to yourself and say it's a long-term investor. Say, man up and take that L and say I made a mistake. But that's all. I don't want to rant no more. I'll go on that, but
No, that's fine. Jack, do you have any last words before we shut down?
No, I'm all set. It was a good night tonight. Again, I will say all the time, we're not. These are just strictly opinions. We're not. If you would like financial advisory, go see a financial planner. But again, I like what Dalo was explaining. Again, it's not to me when it comes to uh, trading. It's more of just forecasting. A lot of forecasting, a lot of data reading. So yeah, man, like I appreciate the knowledge. I appreciate what you guys did tonight. It was a good show.
All right. Thank
thank
you all
you.
for joining us. Come back tomorrow for episode 90 on Black Car Talk. Um, and Monday we'll have space and technology as well for episode 91.
And when is that IT summit? About approximately?
It'll be this month. It'll be this
Okay.
month.
Right.
Just have to figure out a better day. Thank you all for joining us. Have a good night.
Good night.